Oh, you got it too. Oh, oh, you got it. Oh, you got it. You got it.
Welcome to Brother Talk. I'm Mark Arvinold, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. Welcome again to Brother Talk, and we're here to enlighten you, give some detailed, solution-driven dialogue, and not just to rehash and be reactive. We are here to be proactive and set some things before you so that you can have the precision necessary to move forward with your strategy to be a part of the solution and not just bystanders as matters unfold. And we, most of all, uh, look forward to being more than reactionary, but being proactive uh, in the quest to move our community forward and move all of the Black community into a solvent state. And we're thankful for those who have made uh, monumental contributions and have achieved independently individual success. But as we look forward to moving the entire community forward and being on equal footing throughout all society, we must look at a different posture. And we've been dealing with uh, Black political free agency and not having forced alignment or continued alignment simply along lines that others dictate uh, what the strategic approach or strategic plan is for the community. And one of the things that leads to a Black political free agency is being able to decide the issues and not be told what the issues are by political parties or individuals. And deciding the issues, we learn to drive the issues uh, on, and not have the candidates or political parties drive our vote. Let me give you a reference that we can look back, a historical reference, in how one issue can drive a group into the accomplishment or achievement of their goals or their uh, overall objective. Uh, the so-called evangelical movement had a anti-Roe versus Wade agenda. They were pro-life. Let's call it the pro-life agenda, and not just the evangelical movement, because that gives another connotation. So we will say the pro-life movement that included the evangelical, so-called evangelical movement. And I'm not looking to brand anyone, but the pro-life movement set out to follow their issue, to send forth their issue. And they were willing to support candidates or align themselves with a political party that promised to deliver on their issue, pro-life. Judges, federal judges that will make a stand and change the abortion law. And they've been working it, and they've been committed to it, and they have gotten a number of conservative judges appointed to the Supreme Court, um, circuit courts, courts of appeal, and even district court. Why? Because they stayed to their issue. They decided that this was the issue, this was their cause. And election cycle after election cycle, they did not vary or deviate from their issue. And as a result, they're getting the results that they sought after. We're talking about Black political free agency. And in order to have Black political free agency, you must be able to decide what your issues are. And we're going to come back with a step-by-step measure that the community can take and anyone can take and follow if they have issues that they want to see follow through and get the results that they aspire to get. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more brother to brother talk on Black political free agency and deciding the issues. This is Brother to Brother Talk. We will take a break and we'll be right back. I'm Mark Carvin Olds, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. We'll be back with more solution-driven dialogue on Brother to Brother Talk.
GreenLeafBeef.com.
Welcome back. I'm Mark Carvin Olds, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank, and welcome back to Brother Talk, a solution-driven dialogue. We're talking tonight again about deciding the issues. If you're going to have a Black political free agency, then you have to decide your own issues. We were making mention of or referencing the pro-life movement and their ability to stay the course. But first of all, they had to decide the issue. No one gave them this issue. This was their issue. They drove that issue into a political party. They drove that issue into candidates, and they cultivated and developed candidates that understood the issue and the loyalty and the commitment of the pro-life movement into that issue. And if you follow the pro-life issue, well, it's not about whether in this dialogue, it's not whether or not you agree with it or disagree with it. It's about the strategy that they employed, the commitment that they demonstrated, and how they well planned their mission. And they had a vision of how it could be changed. And they went after that issue. And they made that issue a voting block. That if you did not support that one particular issue, all else that you stated did not matter. And so they were able to drive their issue and continue to drive their issue. What you have to do in deciding your issue, you have to come to a decision. And they came to a decision that the matter in question was pro-life. So you have to when you have free agency, then you can decide an issue and not be considered a voting bloc, but be considered a group that drives the issue, and you're not easily co-opted. In fact, when you're deciding the issue and you come to a decision that the matter in question is your issue, and this is what matters to you, then you can drive the issue, and candidates, political parties, or whatever other affiliation will have to align with what you have as the matter in question. You make the decision. When you make the decisions, others can either accept it or reject it. They may even ignore it, but they will not be able to co-opt you when you make the decision. When you know the subject, when you set the subject, when you control the narrative, when you set forth, this is the subject that we're going to deal with. And when you are able to craft your decision, deciding the issues for yourself and set them forth, and not having others deciding the issues for you, then you reach a decision that this is what we're going to stake our political capital on. We will decide the issue. We will make a decision. We will control the subject. We will control the education around what our issue is. Once you control and set the narrative, and then begin to educate the people around your issue, then whether they are voters, candidates, political parties, they will all understand with clarity just what your issue is and where you stand and what they will have to do to gain your support, other than tell you or challenge you to go out and cast a ballot. You challenge them with your issue. Let your issue challenge them as to whether or not they really value your support. Because if they value your vote, they value your support, then they will have to support whatever your issue is. You have to reach that decision. You have to set what the topic is. The candidates can't set the topic for you. You have to set that topic. And once you set what the topic is, it's because you have reached a decision that this is our issue. This is the issue that we're going to allow ourselves to be identified with and identified by. And with that, you have to come to a conclusion. You come to a conclusion that no matter what others are lifting up, no matter what others are saying, you're not going to allow your issue to be swept under the rug because of someone else's broader agenda. You have to know your point. You have to make your point. What is your point of interest? And when you have arrived at what your point of interest remains, you have to remain committed to it and stand by it. We're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to come back with more on the deciding your issue, but also more on Brother to Brother Talk. I'm Mark Carbonell, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. This is Brother to Brother Talk. We will take a break and we'll be right back. I'm Mark Carbonell, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. We'll be back with more solution-driven dialogue on Brother to Brother Talk.
GreenLeaf.com.
The Great Lockdown of 2020, a mid-crisis analytical report, represents a historical work. The people provide indicators to their needs and roles in building and establishing the new norm. The voice of the people places at the fingertips of decision makers knowledge of how the area's resources should be deployed to best serve the society and address the needs and concerns of the people going forward. This study serves as a guide to where key research should be directed and sets the course to engage resources during crises by future social theoreticians. Comparison of responses on multiple levels provide an uncanny insight. The capture of a population's response in the midst of a crisis compared to a post-crisis reflection shall prove to be of monumental value into human reactions facing uncertainty during and post a calamity. How do I write my life story? I know hurt and pain. I don't like either one, whether physical or emotional. Herein contains my story, Not Without Scars Part 2, Optimism, Perseverance, Persistence, Resilience, 2 decades of personal struggle. Optimism, I faced the new millennium with hopefulness, perseverance. My ego, my humble beginnings, my desire to achieve never allow me to turn away from a difficult task. Persistence. Opposition should be anticipated as an effective strategy to victory surfaces. Resilience. Difficulties do not automatically spell termination. Scars reveal my imperfection as reminders of past episodes of pain, sorrow, or triumph. Scars can tell beautiful story endings or relay misery that wishes to remain anonymous. This work is meant to help others who have experienced decades of struggle. When struggles appear to never end, you must get through the night and face the challenge of a new dawn with fresh hope.
Welcome back to Brother to Brother Talk. I'm Mark Robino, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. And as we're continuing our follow-up over the last several episodes or editions of Brother to Brother Talk, we're talking about Black political free agency. And we're moving it now from just defining Black political free agency to establishing what is the strategy and how do you move and mobilize within the political free agency, and how do you shape your position so that others know where you're standing, and it's not just race baiting or racial issues. Those are all concerns. But whatever the issue is, it must be broad enough. It must be clear enough that the people that you represent in the constituency understands it, so that it then can be articulated and with conviction. And we're using for a reference point the pro-life movement and how they developed it around their faith. And a lot of it was around their faith, not all, but the pro-life movement included a lot of people of faith. And they found within their faith that they could come to a conclusion that this was a point that they could support, and they could stand on this point and define the point, and with clarity elaborate on that point and articulate that point. And that's what happens when you have free agency with your political power. You can decide your own issues, and then when you reach that conclusion, you know what your case is. You state your case based on the fact that you have come to a conclusion that this is your issue. And in order to be most effective with your political free agency, you must understand that the issue is the case that you must state, and not generalize your ballot potential based on the fact that you're going to rush to support someone else, some particular political party, and some agenda that's not in your favor. It's too late to negotiate after someone else has already succeeded in coming to power. And then you become at their mercy. But if you retain your case, win, lose, or draw, you do not deviate from your case, continue to build your case, continue to build a momentum among the people that what your issue is represents them, and you represent the issue. And then the issue and the people both become ambassadors of one another. And when that takes place, then you have the fusion and the interlocking of both issue and constituent. When you have an alignment, a blind alignment, you are aligning. You're interfacing and interacting and becoming meshed with someone else's concerns, someone else's agenda. But when you reach a conclusion and you know the case and you state the case and you have decided that this is your issue and let that go forth, then you settle on a plan of action. You have to settle on a plan of action, but you can't settle on a plan of action without proceeding with your issue. The plan of action is how you proceed, but if the people aren't proceeding with you, they can't grasp the strategy that's connected to this plan of action because the issue has not been articulated, has not been absorbed by the constituency, by those that you wish to represent or and say that this issue is in your best interest. This that you can have this issue and it aligns with your conviction. And this is what makes an issue one issue can sway a campaign, can turn a nation in a direction when there's enough conviction in the people that they interlock and interfaith and interact with the particular issue. And then there's the commitment of oneself, even after the articulation and the gathering, it has to be an issue that each individual has the conviction that this issue represents themselves. And when that takes place, when that you have that commitment to oneself, then the circulation begins because the conversation becomes natural. And that's the key element in deciding what your issue is going to be. When everyone that you say to about your issue, they understand that this issue reflects them. It's part of who they are. It has to become part of their spirit. It has to become something that they feel that they can cherish, in the sense of this is clear to them and it means something to them. And then when they can articulate it with conviction, and the circulation then becomes strong, because whenever there's conversation, there's reinforcement about the issue. And that's what makes deciding the issue so vital. And that's part of the whole political free agency, is that you are free to decide your issue. And you're not waiting for the next election cycle to come around and hear what someone else has to say, and then attach yourself in that election cycle to who you like or what that personality is or who that personality is. No, it's not about waiting for the next charismatic leader to show up. It's about driving your issue into whoever is going to represent your issue, whoever the candidate may be, whatever the political party may be. Your issue is important enough that you can drive a wedge until they listen to your issue, and not you jump on board and hope that this is the lesser of two evils, and you have to abandon your issue and hope that somebody does something good by your issue. Drive your issue. If you have to go election cycle after election cycle until you get your issue, what did you have to lose? If your issue has that much conviction to you, you didn't have anything until you win. And you win to get what your conviction leading you to. So you have to stay steadfast to that. You have to set your sight on it, so that not only the collective sight is set on this issue, but individual sights are set on this issue. And then it's the appearance that this issue is for all who are forming the constituency to go after this issue. I'm Mark Carbon-Oles, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank, and we're here tonight discussing the strategy, the mapping, the arrival at deciding the issue as an integral component of Black political free agency.
This is Brother to Brother Talk. We will take a break and we'll be right back. I'm Mark Carbon-Oles, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. We'll be back with more solution-driven dialogue on Brother to Brother Talk.
GreenLeafBeef.com.
Welcome back to Brother to Brother Talk. I'm your host, Mark Robin Oles, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank. And we are moving through our dialogue on Black political free agency. And one of the key elements to political free agency for any group is the mechanism of deciding the issues, whether it's a plurality on one issue, deciding the issue that you can identify with that issue and be able to articulate that issue. And when you are moving through the process of building your issue, building your support base, building your constituency, and that's what we'll go into in our closing for the night and opening the door for our next episode, building coalition. How do you go about building coalition? Well, the mission is Black political free agency. And that with that free agency, you have to decide what the issue that you are going to support and bring your constituency in to understand that this is the issue that we're going to build a movement, build our mission, build our vision around. And when you do that, then you have the substance to go to individuals or organizations and build coalitions. And coalitions is not just in numbers, but coalitions are in support of your issue. If you just want a crowd, then you have a feel-good day or feel-good event, and it looks impressive. But if you want to build upon conviction, and the conviction being political free agency, then you have to decide the issue. And then when you take your issue and let the issue build coalition and not being persuaded by a party affiliation or leaders' influence, but the people are driving the coalitions by their issue. When coalitions are built on the issue of the people, the foundation is more secure, it's more firm, and you have an outcome that will reflect the people as opposed to an individual or candidate. And we have to learn to do this in building coalitions. It's not just bringing together a huge number of people and without it being a unified effort. And so political free agency comes with deciding the issue, and then of course being able to build coalitions. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Mark Carvin Oles, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank and host for Brother to Brother Talk. And we're working episode by episode on Black political free agency. And we covered tonight deciding the issue, and we're working more going forward on how we're going to build coalitions. Once again, I'm Mark Carvin, Managing Director of the Midwest Minority Think Tank, and thank you for joining us tonight on Brother to Brother Talk.
You got it too.